This is a short animation I made to show the overall workflow for building a retail environment. I use Blender for architecture and retail design, and it's more than capable of accurately building and visualizing store layouts, fixtures and finishes, signage, and merchandise. In this video, I'm going to show you the first step in that process, how to import accurately scaled drawings from AutoCAD into Blender. So here we are in AutoCAD. I have the plan and a few elevations of a generic retail store. It's important to pay attention to your drawing's units. This drawing is set up using meters as the primary unit, which is the same as Blender's. It should import into Blender correctly scaled. I've set up another drawing using inches to demonstrate the process for those who use imperial. In order to import this into Blender, you'll notice that this file is actually a DXF file. AutoCAD drawings are usually DWG, but you can save this as a DXF file, a drawing exchange format. Inside of Blender, I'm going to delete everything, A to select all, X to delete. Under Edit, Preferences, you have to go to Add-ons and search for AutoCAD. You have to enable this one, Import AutoCAD DXF Format. Now when you go to File, Import, you can see AutoCAD DXF as an option. Here I'm going to select the meters version. You'll see that there are some curve objects and some text objects. A to select all, 7 to go into top view. I'm going to zoom into my drawing. So these are all curve objects. A to select all, Control J to form it into one curve object, Control I to invert the selection, that's going to select all these extra text boxes, X to delete, and now I only have one curve object as all of my drawings. I'm going to reset the origin to geometry, and then I'm going to place this grouping of drawings at the 3D cursor by pressing Shift S, Selection to Cursor, Z to frame selected. So now I have my plan and all of my elevations in 3D space in Blender accurately scaled. Make sure that I'm in metric, meters. This is a curve object, but I like to convert it into a mesh object. That way when you tab into edit mode, you can select each of these edges and vertices like a regular mesh object. I think also the snaps now also will work. So when you're moving something, you can snap from points or edges, whereas you couldn't do that when it was a curve. So now I'm going to take my measuring device, snap in the X direction, see that this is 9.14 meters apart. If I go back to my reference drawing, take a dimension, 9.144 meters apart. And so now this drawing is now accurately scaled inside of a metric Blender scene. I'm going to start a new file, A to select all, X to delete, import DXF, and now I'm going to find my drawing set up as inches. Import that drawing, A to select all, Z to frame selected, 7 to go to the top view. So the drawing that was set up in inches has been imported into Blender, but it's way too large because Blender is thinking each inch is a meter. So this 5-foot circle is actually over 2,000 inches wide. I can solve this by scaling it down by a factor of 39.3701. So S1 divided by 39.3701. And now when I measure that 5-foot circle, I can see it's exactly 60 inches, which is 5 feet. I'm going to do the same thing I did with the metric. Control J to make one curve object. Control I to invert the selection. X to delete. Reset the origin to geometry. And then I'm going to place this at the 3D cursor. Shift S, selection to cursor. And so now I have my AutoCAD file set up as inches imported into a Blender scene that's using inches. So again, I'm going to convert this into a mesh, enable multiple vertex, edge, and face selections by shift left clicking, tab into edit mode. Now I can grab individual edges and vertexes, and the snaps work. So now I have my snaps as well. Tab into edit mode, in wireframe, select all this drawing, PS to separate it into a separate object. Do that for the other additional elevations, PS to separate, PS to separate, PS to separate. Now each of these is an individual drawing. A to select all, reset origin to geometry, I set that up as a quick favorite. So now I want to rotate each of these elevations and place them along the walls so that they construct a wireframe of the store. So I want to rotate this along the x-axis. I'm going to grab the ground, Shift S2 to place the cursor there, and then I'm going to change the transform pivot point to 3D cursor. Now when I scale it or rotate it, it's going to be about the 3D cursor as opposed to the origin. R, X, 90 degrees, and now this has been rotated up 90 degrees vertically. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Right now, it's still set up to transform about the 3D cursor. So if I rotate or scale, it's going to be about there. Tab into edit mode, Shift S2 to place the 3D cursor along background line, RX, negative 90 degrees to rotate that vertically. This is going to rotate it about the green Y-axis. Tab into edit mode, Shift S2 to place my 3D cursor at the ground line, RY 90 to rotate this vertically. And then this is the storefront elevation. Tab into edit mode, Shift S2 to place the 3D cursor, RY 90 degrees. Now I want to place each of these elevations into its correct spot along the walls. G to grab, B to identify a base point, Y to constrict motion in the Y direction, and then I snap it to the wall there. So you can see that these panels that are on the wall are now aligning with the panels on the wall and the ground. Same thing with this. G to grab, B to identify a base point, Y to constrain motion along the green axis, and then snap onto a drawing. G to grab, B to identify a base point in the X direction, snap to the wall there. G to grab, B to identify base point, X in the X direction, and snap to the storefront. And so now I have a wireframe that I can use to build my store and place my fixtures from. In the next video I'll show you how to build the architectural shell of the store. That's going to be the ground, the walls, and the ceiling, and the column grid. If you want to try following along for yourself, I've made these 2 drawings available in the description below. So I hope this was helpful. Please let me know in the comments if you had any questions or any requests. Thank you for watching.